Hi, everybody. So first off, I just want to um, apologize for uh, having to push the final. It was a hard week at the Sophie household, and the few of you that sent us uh, s- a nice email offering your condolences was really sweet, and so we're really appreciated through this crummy time. Um, so the final exam for Thursday, you'll have 2 hours. Consists of defining 10 out of 20 short answers. There'll be 10 multiple choice questions, and then you'll choose 3 out of 6 essays. There'll be an essay on President Johnson's Great Society. There'll be one on the progressive era, what were the causes and the goals. One based on cynicism. I think in the last class we dove into how and why we see a rise in deep mistrust in the government over the course of the later parts of the 20th century, with major political failures, and how that kind of coalesces to a moment where today we in the United States are not surprised, cynical when it comes to government, the role of government, and who's in government. And so, where do we get that? Our thoughts and understandings are not disconnected from the past. And so, we are influenced by those past events, and we're not kind of this people that know something different than previous generations. We are kind of um, the outsource of the past generations, and what they went through and how that colored their worldview is kind of passed down to us, and then we inherit or come into a country or an existence um, that the table set the table setting has already been there, and so we now take on that worldview. It would be a very different thing if it was like pre-World War II, where government programs worked. America's role in the world was one of not only a mediator, but a power that did good and won the war. So, how do we go from being a country that really believed in America's government and role in the world to one that kind of mistrusts it? And to a point, how can we get that back? What do we need to see change? Um, there'll be one on the civil rights leaders and the civil rights movement, the one in the 20s and one in the 60s. We're going to be talking about four: Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois from the 20s, from the early part of the century, and then the later one, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You'll be tying them together. Booker T. Washington was much more of a nonviolent civil rights leader from the South, similar to Martin Luther King. And you have W.E.B. Du Bois, who's from the North, as well as Malcolm X, even though he's from the Midwest, I believe from Nebraska. He does live in New York and is kind of made by his New York experience, and he was a little bit more aggressive. So, um, define who each leader was, what their goal was in the 20s, and then reflect it into the 60s. And uh, there'll be one on the women's movement, tracing the women's movement from the 15th Amendment, which gave African Americans the right to vote, which left out women when we were advocating to be included in that. How that then turned into Susan B. Anthony leading the women's movement, going into the temperance movement, uh, influenced by industrialization, women's dependency on men, to the progressive era, where the main event is the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire that influences not only the labor movement, but the women's movement, and how that translates then into World War I, World War II, entering the workforce, 1960s, creation of a standard of living, going to college, and tracing how the women's movement changed from post-American Civil War to the 2000s. And then there'll be one on Reconstruction. What were the goals of Reconstruction? Discuss each goal and whether it succeeded or did not. For the exam, it's pretty, I think, self-explanatory. Follow closely to excuse me, the slides. The slides, or not only slides, but the test is made so that questions that are in the short answer and multiple choice can also be used in the essays. So it's made so that you can plant a seed in either a multiple choice question or a short answer question, and then expand on that in the essay form. So there are questions about Reconstruction, some of the goals or the amendments of the Reconstruction era that you can then correlate and use in your essay. So the test is kind of all intertwined, and so each section kind of can be used. Go over Reconstruction, the goals of Reconstruction, some of the failures of Reconstruction, specifically land reform. Know the amendments, know the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Gilded Age, know the causes of the Gilded Age, the four izations: industrialization, unionization, immigration, and urbanization. Know what those tenets mean. What is industrialization, union, urbanization, immigration, and what were the problems of those izations in the Gilded Age, and then what the progressive era tried to do in fixing those. How did the progressives try to correct, or why did the progressives argue for unionization? Well, work is deadly. Why did they argue for healthier living spaces like Central Park, or homes that had ventilation and sunlight? Well, people didn't. They didn't have any fresh air or access to sunlight, natural light, or sewage. So look at how those problems in the Gilded Age are then corrected in the progressive era. No Jim Crow. No, the main case of the early civil rights movement being Plessy versus Ferguson. What is the famous saying that comes out of that? That leads you to the war, imperialism, turn of the century, American empire, understand what the imperialists were arguing, anti-imperialists, why we fought the Spanish-American War, which territories we gained. Know the isms of World War I: militarism, imperialism, revolution, alliances, colonialism, nationalism, how that led to the war. And what does, and like how building up militaries, imperialism is, extending a country's power beyond this continental border through military or economic means. The revolutions of the Marxist era, the secret alliances of the monarchs, colonialism, those colonial holdings that the European powers were competing over, and then nationalism, this kind of rise and pride in one's country, leading to an us versus them mentality. Know the let me see here, 19th Amendment. Know the amendments. Know the 22nd, 20th, 19th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Those are major ones. Know what was the Roaring Twenties, why the Roaring Twenties was such a dynamic time. What was the end of the Roaring Twenties? The Great Crash. Know that the Hawley-Smoot tariff, what it did, what was its effect. Know who Margaret Sanger is. There's going to be a question on the New Deal. Lots of questions on the New Deal. New Deal being what were the goals? know the three R's of the New Deal. Um, what was the goal of the New Deal? What was it trying to do? What in terms of the government's role to to the private sector? Um, how the federal government uh, expanded the role of how the federal government expanded its role in providing jobs for people. Um, the Glass-Steagall Act, what it tried to do during the New Deal. Um, know a couple of the acts, know what the Wagner Act is, know the National Industrial Recovery Administration, Market Agricultural Adjustment Administration, know some of the acts, the big famous acts of the New Deal. Know the cause of the Second World War, specifically the United States getting into it. The Manhattan Project, the secret project that develops the atomic bomb. Cold War. There'll be a couple of questions on the Cold War, specifically Truman Doctrine, domino theory, the idea that one country falls to communism, the surrounding countries might fall as well. Know the Harlem Renaissance, the Korean War. Know the final kind of sector known as the DMZ, how the war ended, what is that called? Now what got us into the Vietnam War? What was that famous incident that was later became a very controversial incident? What was that called? Know the civil rights movement, know what Martin Luther King's goal was, what was his methods, know Malcolm X's methods. Thinking here, for a great society, know a couple of the acts, defining pieces of legislation, Medicare, Medicaid, voting rights, the war on poverty, what was Johnson trying to do with civil rights, know that HUD's created educational programs, equal opportunity, National Endowment for the Humanities, know what these acts were trying to do. HUD is trying to create housing in urban sectors, equal opportunity, providing opportunity for employment to minorities and women who were left out of opportunities, National Endowment for the Arts to provide high-level arts for an American public now watching a lot of television, sharing the wealth, affirmative action. What was affirmative action trying to correct? What was the goal? The war on poverty. No, 68, what was happening in 68, what were some major events that made it the defining year of the 1960s? The women's movement, Red Power, gay liberation, Stonewall, Latino activism, Red Power, all the kind of social movements of the 60s. No, with Nixon and Watergate, why Ford offered the country, why he offered Nixon a pardon. Many believe that it was a secret deal, but Ford would later argue it was to spare the country of rehashing the awful aspect of Watergate to get Nixon out of the headlines. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory class. No, there'll be know what the Marshall Plan is, know who Jeanette Rankin is, Eleanor Roosevelt, what was the Cuban Missile Crisis, who's involved, what was the issues, why is it called the Harlem Renaissance, know the women's leaders, know the outcome of the Spanish-American War, causes of World War One. Focused mainly on New Deal, civil rights, Great Society. Like I said, the more you write, the better you will do. So the more you write in your essays, the better chance you have of getting the full 20 points. So if you write a good amount, you might get 15. If you write nothing, you get nothing. If you write there's points on the table. So it's not an all or nothing like the Electoral College. If you write a good amount, but you miss a couple, points, you'll get 17 out of 20. But if you do nothing, then there's no points given. On that note, just follow along with this video. Stay close to the PDF. There's a lot of photos in the PDF, but they're really just used as visual reminders. But really what's in the PDF is pretty close to the final. Write as much as you can. Most of the final is writing the essays, and that's where the test is going to come from. So the more you write, the better you will do. I will put the test available at around probably like 9 o'clock. The minute you sign on, you'll have 2 hours to complete the test. And then once you're done, you are done. So good luck, everybody. I'll see you soon and have a great break. And for those who are graduating, congratulations. I wish you all the best. Take care.